I'm drinking iced coffee today because Dad drank all the warm coffee. What's up, guys? It's Kayla.
And Jim.
And welcome back to another Meteorology Monday. Today we are going to be talking about the Saharan dust cloud and answering some questions that I know at least I've been getting a bunch as this death storm from Africa has been rolling across the Atlantic towards us and impacting the eastern coast here. So,
that's right.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that today.
That's right. So we've read over some of that information. We've written down some questions that I think you probably would already be asking anyways. So I figure go ahead, let's make a video on it and we'll talk about the questions and get some answers.
There we go. Question number 1.
Is it an actual cloud?
Not really in the traditional form of a cloud. It's dust, not water. So it's not a cloud. But it is a bunch of dust together. How would you explain that better? It's not a cloud, but it's cloudy.
So it kind of simulates a cloud in terms of it's big, like a cloud. Actually covers a large area, so multiple clouds, large region.
Like an entire blanket of clouds.
That's right. So it has a horizontal girth, it has a vertical girth. It restricts sunlight. It probably doesn't restrict it completely like a cloud would, but it's made of much smaller particulates versus a water droplet, so that causes different absorption rates, different scattering rates, and things along that line, and filters more sunlight through versus, say, a regular cloud.
Correct, and like water droplets are clear, so the light refracts through water droplets a lot differently than it does solid particles of sand and dirt, so...
That's right.
Yeah!
In fact, the dust is actually categorized as cloud nuclei.
Cloud nuclei,
which is what the water droplets would stick to and form. So why are we not seeing real clouds, water-based clouds with this dust storm?
Well, you would think with all these cloud nuclei that the water droplets would just have so much stuff to, grab onto and form this huge cloud like day after tomorrow type thing. Except for the fact that you gotta remember that this dust is coming from a desert where there's like zero water in the air. And as it's crossing the Atlantic, it's still keeping all that dry, dusty characteristics with it. So there's not really a lot of water to be picked up.
That's right. So if you're more familiar with relative humidity, like most people are, the air mass associated with that dust cloud, the relative humidity is extremely low.
Very low.
So it's really hard to form water drops on the dust particle nuclei.
Question number 2.
So where does this dust cloud come from? So it's been titled as the Saharan dust cloud. So specifically, how's it originate?
The Sahara.
There you go. Question number 3.
Question number 3.
So it forms over Africa. So why does it form over Africa?
And if you're not very familiar with how the weather patterns work over the globe, a lot of our weather here on the East Coast at least comes from Africa. When you have hurricanes and stuff, they start out as storms over Africa, they move off the coast into the Atlantic, and then they make their way over. So I mean, it's kind of the same principle as this dust storm making its way over using the same, air highway in the sky across the Atlantic. So yeah, it's
that's right.
Basic.
So you've probably, especially in the summertime on the east coast of the United States, you've heard a lot about the Bermuda High. So that's a large high pressure system that sits off the eastern seaboard out near Bermuda. So if you imagine, and hopefully I'm going to do this right, so it goes in a clockwise circulation as you're looking at me. Hopefully I'm going clockwise. So high pressure is going around. Okay. So on the southern side of it, that's about where Africa, the Saharan desert and those areas. So that's where the airstream is coming from that direction, and eventually it will start to turn as you approach the eastern United States coastline, and it goes up and goes around in a circle and goes over, the top part goes over to Europe, and then it makes its way back down to Africa again. So you got this big circular circulation.
Big circular circulation going from Africa to Florida to New York to Europe and back down again.
I think you made a square.
Round that out, can you? You get the idea.
Round the corners. But that's basically it. So this is why it forms over that area. So that takes us into question number 3, which is, where does it actually move to? So we talked about forms over the Saharan desert, and it follows that clockwise circulation. So it heads toward the east. Now, most of the time, it usually comes off at least maybe a couple hundred miles, maybe 1,000 miles if it's a really, a big one. But these are actually not abnormally large, because we've seen them before.
We've definitely seen them before, but
they're not frequent.
They're more rare than the normal events. I mean, this type of event happens every single year. It's just that the one this year is so big that it's hitting all the news stations and stuff like that. You're seeing it all over social media. It does happen, but not as frequently. So
it's getting attention.
So it's getting more attention because it's rare, because that much of the dust made it this far.
That's right.
Question number 4.
Question number 4. How high does it reach into the atmosphere?
So the dust can reach anywhere from 5,000 feet to 20,000 feet. So it's pretty close to the ground. It doesn't reach too far up there, but 20,000 feet is...
Yeah, that's usually the start of the cirrus layer. You're You're going from the alto layer to the cirrus layer.
Yeah, so if you don't know what that is, the dust can reach anywhere from 5,000 feet off the ground to the high wispy clouds in the air. So those really wispy ones up there is about the highest that this dust can get.
Yep. So that's where the bulk of it could be carried, but it actually does reach the ground, obviously, as you've seen with recent news events.
My car has been covered in dust a couple times this week.
That's right. So as the dust settles...
That was an okay dad joke.
So basically, from the ground up to about 20,000 feet is your potential thickness of what the Saharan dust cloud could be, depending on how strong it is.
There you go. Question number 5.
So, as we've already touched upon, how far can it travel? So, we already talked about...
Yeah, we already talked about that a little bit, but it's reaching the Midwest, and I saw pictures from Omaha, Nebraska that had dust. So, it definitely is not just cross the Atlantic and settle on the East Coast type thing. It can go into the Gulf, it can go into the Midwest, it can go even a little bit farther than that. It just depends on how strong the air currents are and how much dust is in the air.
That's right.
Question number 6.
How common is this?
We touched on this a little bit earlier too, but I mean, it's a pretty common event for dust to come off of the West African coast and make its way across the Atlantic. It's not as common that it comes all the way across. I think the last big dust storm like this was in 2003. So this is the worst one since 2003, but it did happen in 2003, so it's not uncommon. It's just more rare than it hitting the middle of the Atlantic and dying off.
That's right.
Question number 7.
What are the impacts of this cloud?
This one's a doozy. So we're gonna try to keep it short, but we're gonna try to explain everything. So let's start off first with obviously air quality. If you don't know about air quality, the air quality index starts from 0 and goes up to, 500 I think?
I thought it was 10. 0 to 10.
Hey
I'm
Siri,
not sure.
What's the air quality index?
The air quality is good at 35.
No, I don't want to know what it is here. I want to know what it is. It is 500!
Yes.
I was right. The smaller the number, the better the air quality, the higher the number, the worse. So, obviously when you have dust traveling across the Atlantic and blanketing, your state, the air quality is going to be pretty bad. It's going to have a higher number to it. So that is one of the effects that the Saharan dust cloud. There we go. These Saharan dust clouds have on our weather.
But what other impacts does it have?
Well, I mean, the biggest, of course, is hurricanes. We gotta talk about the hurricanes.
This is hurricane season
gotta
for
talk
the
about
Atlantic
it.
Basin.
For the Atlantic Basin, we live on the East Coast. Hurricanes are huge, so we gotta talk about that. So how about you start us off with how this affects hurricanes?
So it affects hurricanes in a few different ways. So as we talked about earlier in the video, it causes some scattering of light, so therefore the sunshine will appear dimmer.
Yep.
So therefore it's not going to heat as much.
Correct. Not as much heat is hitting the ground, not as much incoming solar radiation.
Yep. So there's also potential wind shear associated with it, with the dust cloud coming off and how that interacts with the ocean and other land masses.
Yep.
Just its nature in itself has got wind shear associated with it, which is hurricanes do not like that whatsoever.
Nope, tears them right apart.
Yep. Associated with it also is, as we mentioned earlier in the video, overall drier air, low relative humidity.
Yep.
You want storms to build for a hurricane and rising motion, and the dust cloud tends to have sinking motion and dry air associated with it. So what are some other effects that the Saharan dust cloud can have?
Well, I mean, when you're looking to have a great sunrise or sunset, you're looking to have those high wispy cirrus clouds, and you know, when the dust cloud is reaching up into that layer, you're giving the atmosphere a lot of particulates to work with, so you're going to have more colorful sunsets and sunrises.
And why do they produce all these colors?
Oh, that gets into atmospheric scattering and light dynamics and all that stuff.
So the dust scatters.
Basically,
more.
Light bounce off dust, make pretty color.
There you go.
And I believe that there is one more gigantic thing that this dust storm can have an effect on, and what is that?
Respiratory illnesses.
Which, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so let's just layer a dust storm onto the COVID-19 thing.
That's right.
So why not? It's 2020.
That's right. So as we talked about, it reduces air quality, and those that have respiratory sensitivities, this definitely is a factor that contributes to some of those things.
So there you have it, the must-knows and the frequently asked questions about the Saharan dust storm.
That's right. If you guys have any comments about what we talked about, or if you've found other information, go ahead and leave that in our comment section below.
And if you like this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below so you never miss another Meteorology Monday.
And also, you can go ahead and follow us over on Facebook and Instagram, popping up right here. And as well as looking at our website that we've got. You can see our blogs from last year and earlier this year, as well as other photos that we've taken.
Spiffy new website with all of our photos and videos and blogs and everything kind of in one place.
That's right, and the link will be down below.
And also below is a link to our Patreon if you guys want to donate and help us make videos like this more often. We love doing videos like this and creating, you know, content that is both educational and fun and gives us a break from work. So if you guys want to donate and help us make more videos like this, click that link in our description. Until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And happy dust clouding. It's almost like a blog. Not a blog, a vlog.
It's almost like a video blog, guys.